All right, everyone, you can thank me now because I brought in a legend to all of us. If you lose your keys, he can find them. The master of all things music, Mr. Mick MacNeil. How are you, Mick? Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm good, Ethan. How are you? Nice to see you again.
It's good to see you, man. It's been 15 years since you've done this show. When you did the
Oh,
show the first time, I figured we would only continue it this long if it was some form of punishment, and here we are. But the good
yeah, you're
news
still
is
there.
is we're both still kicking it, man. Hard to
Yeah,
believe. Um,
yeah.
y- you and I are friends socially, and I saw you released a new album, Themes from Glory Days, and I saw a piece you put together with it, and let's give the audience a sample of what we're talking about here. So that's a pretty emotional piece. It seems like you're a man reflecting heavily on the past. By the way, I will say, when I was in high school, the cheerleading squad thought you were the best looking guy in the band.
Goes
And
without
nothing's
saying.
changed. Nothing's changed, brother.
Yeah.
But you're looking back on this piece. But tell me, where did it all start with this record, this concept in your head?
Yeah, I mean it's been kind of drifting for quite a few years, really. I started putting up, I started my own YouTube channel, and I was trying to grow a little bit of kind of interest in it. I dug out a whole load of old footage that I had taken film. I used to have a little Sony camera, and I film off just in the bus and touring and stuff like that. So I thought, I'm going to put some of this up. I don't want to make any money off it. The whole object wasn't to make money at all. I felt that I was privileged enough to have it and have the memories of it. I'm going to share it with people that are interested in that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So when the sound was awful, the sound, the microphone built and just total wind and noise, it was just horrendous. So I just started playing about with pianos, and I'd try and hint on some of the melodies of the time that what the band were doing at those times, and use it just like a theme tune, a soundtrack background thing. And I got such a great reaction from it. And there was a wee guy, a wee pal in Mexico City, Roberto Aguilero. He was really pressing me to keep doing a version of Street Fighting Years and just do a solo piano. I mean, he really gave me a hard time one night. And I'm sitting in the Western Isles up in the Isle of Battersea. It's actually a wee isle connected to Barra, in my pajamas, just sitting with the piano in the back bedroom. And this guy from Mexico is, keep just do that bit again, keep doing that end bit. So I've done about 3 or 4 verses just to keep him happy and shut him up, basically. But I was really, really pleased with the outcome. And then putting bits and bobs up on the YouTube thing, just got loads and loads of requests to say this would be a good record. So that's where it kind of stemmed from.
It's beautiful in its concept and it's so fun to listen to. It's very emotional. I'll warn everyone now. I got really emotional listening to it, and it may have something to do with your promo piece because those of us who know your musical lineage are we attach a lot of our past to some of it. And you were in a band that is threaded into a lot of pop culture, popular movies and things that remind you exactly where you were at a certain part of time. And to hear you kind of reflect back, my daughter, by the way, wrote her college graduate theme, college graduate
Thesis.
thesis paper to it.
Right. Oh, wow.
Um,
That's good.
so
Yeah.
we were, yeah, I
I
thought
mean,
it
it
was
is.
good. Go ahead.
I
I'm
feel
sorry.
it is quite. I feel it is quite emotional because it was me sort of. I tried to just extract all the bits that I felt. I felt this was my contribution to those
Yeah.
old tunes, and some of the bits were actually things that were pre those records that kind of led it on to where they were. And I felt like the melodies were strong enough. I mean, things like I thought some of the tracks, some of the melodies on the original record, I felt were kind of lost and buried. And I thought, well, I'm just going, there's one Come a Long Way. It's one of the tracks in one of the records. I remember the main thing about it was that really, Mel's really featured on it. It's quite heavy drums and bass and groove. But this little melody I did in a wee Jupiter 8 was kind of buried away in it. So I thought, I'm just going to just try what that sounds like on its own. And when I played it, it really took me down the road of a Thomas Newman, Thomas Newman kind
Yeah.
of soundtrack. It's such a simple, wide open space. Plus, Ethan, all these plugins that you get these days with the piano sounds and the beautiful stereo
Yeah.
reverbs, and it just blows you away how you don't have to play much to get a great feel. And this record, it really is all about feel. Trust me, there's no technical element to it. MD can play this stuff. From my point of view, I feel my main contribution is the actual performance of it and how I can feel it and just play something that's really relatively simple, but play it with some expression and feeling. That's 50, 80% of its feel. And a lot of the record, for that matter, is pretty much played live. So it's the easiest record I've ever made. I went out to, I started it, as I said, up in the island of Battersea, which is way, way remote and way out in the Western Isles of Scotland, off the Isle of Barra. And I ended up, the winter was too wild for me. I eventually got myself into Malaga in Spain to try and finish it. So I went out there and hired an apartment, and I just sat there in my pajamas again at night, just looking over the city, playing, just loving what I'm playing and really enjoying the melody feel. I really love playing it. You know what I mean? Even though I've not got any plans to go and actually play it live anywhere. Well, no yet anyway. But that was really, it's all about really how you deliver it, how you express the song. I touched on Herbie Hancock with you a wee minute ago because I
Yeah.
mentioned him because I'm saying you don't have to be brilliant to play any of this stuff that I've just played. And Herbie Hancock, obviously, he's in this other level up there. And it just triggered this memory of when I went to see Herbie in Los Angeles. He'd already played on New Gold Dream, and the other guys out, Derek was out, they were all out in LA before me. And I don't know why I was delayed. I got out there late. They all went to Disneyland, right? And
Of
I went to
course.
see, I got an invite to Herbie's house. And we called him His Royal Herbiness, because he is like Herbie, His Royal Herbie. So I goes out to his house, and it was amazing. I mean, he's there. I think his wife is German or something. She went away shopping, and he's
Hmm.
got it's a nice wee house, and in the room's just full of keyboards, amazing keyboards. And of course, he's kind of encouraging me to go, like, oh, have a go, and I'm like, I don't want to touch it because I know I just feel I'm total shite against how good he is, right? And I'll play a wee bit of what I'm doing just now. And it was Rocket, the track Rocket,
Yeah.
scratching, and they just put the solo on it. So I'm like, he's making the record and I'm in the room. And he's looking at me because he obviously played in ours. And I'm thinking, does he want me to play on this? What am I going to do?
What are
you
you gonna
know,
do?
I don't know what I would do. And I'm kind of just really embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. I'm touching keyboards to see what kind of noise comes out. Let me see if I'll get any kind of inspiration. As if I'm going to sit down and start putting pads on it or something. Anyway, that was
No,
one of
brother,
my Herbie moments.
the rock star goes for it. The rock star goes for it.
The rock
So
star
tell
would go for
yeah, so
it.
you're like, hey, Herbie opened the door and out, the floodgates are now open. It's funny because when you were saying that to me, you're like, playing this isn't complicated. It's not like Herbie Hancock. And you saying that to me is like Mozart explaining music to a roadie. It's like this isn't complicated. This is some of the most beautiful sequences I've heard in music. And for you to say, it's interesting to hear you homage a guy like his royal Herbiness.
Yeah, yes,
It's
yes,
good but it's
totally.
good that you have those stories that you had a chance. And that's the smart play, man. You go to Herbie Hancock. It's funny because never underestimate the power of a man in his pajamas. When we were at Warner
That's
Brothers,
right.
we would see like producer Joel Silver or writer Aaron Sorkin walking around in their pajamas, and we thought that they're in like creative mode. They're so into their creative space that they didn't even get dressed come into the studio today. So
Yeah,
never
yeah.
underestimate a man in his pajamas.
Well, that's true, Ethan. I mean, I think any of the creative arts, you'd go down that road. You don't
Mhm.
get dressed and put your good gear clobber on
No,
to go and create something. You turn up naked, really,
yeah,
because you pretty much you are exposing what's inside you.
yeah, and it's amazing because I'll have complete creative lapse of like I'll get into something creatively and it's probably even more intense for you, and all of a sudden 10 minutes later I'm like, how did I get here?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Or,
what?
the, or daylight's coming up, and I only started this at 11:30 last
Yeah,
night, and
yeah.
the sun's coming already.
So, what was the first thought that kicked into your mind from the past where you said, I feel like I have to make this record? I feel like I have to turn this. Like, what was it? Did you reflect on something from the earlier days?
Um, I mean, the when on the recordings of the YouTube on my YouTube thing where I've filled in some gaps, you can hear where it's going. You can hear like I attempted to do certain versions of songs. There was
Hmm.
another point. I've been getting this for years, Mike. You should redo instrumental version of something like Themes for Great Cities, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, oh, Themes for Great Cities, a great instrumental. You should do it. Everybody else is doing it, and there's so many versions of it and they're very good. And I talked to Derek and Brian McGee, who's their first drummer. Us three have got together as the Minds again, and they came up to the island of Battersea actually with John Leckie, and we kind of jammed about a few ideas. So and one of the ideas was to look at themes for great cities, and I did. I tried it, and then I'd refer back to other versions, and they're so much. They're great. All we could do would be really to recreate the original really accurately, and I
Mm.
didn't see any point in that. So that's when that was actually the initial title when I put down "Fortune Favors the Brave." It was a simple. It was pick out the melody only, just play it straight on the piano with nothing else, and see what it sounds like. And then when Steve Hillage put a little bit of guitar on, just this atmospheric noise. And of course, Stephen Lipson helped me mix it. And I thought, this has really got the potential to have a whole kind of mood based on, you would imagine, like a John Barry kind of soundtrack, or
Yes.
A James Bond cinematic, big cinema feel about it. Even though the music itself, to play it was so kind of easy and simple and straightforward. It's all about expression. Now, don't get me wrong by me simplifying it that much, because getting dealing with expression is an emotion. It's such a big thing. It's no like doesn't it come easy? I would say it's taken me most of my life to get to the stage at which I can play the way I play now, even though I wouldn't say I'm any technically any better than I was when I was 19 years old. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let's give the audience a sample. We're going to play a little bit right here, and we'll
Right.
play some throughout the show. So here we go. right, so we're back. Mick was saying that there's too many tracks on this record. I would argue there's not enough, but we'll see who wins out when the audience starts buying it and giving it a roll. Um, talk to me a little bit, if you could, about John Giblin.
John Giblin, okay. Obviously, John died. This is a bit, I don't know, maybe 2 years now.
Hmm.
And I hadn't seen John for a long time. And I know when he left, when we parted company within the band, it wasn't in great terms. And it's a subject that I'm kind of addressing in my old age, not just about John's departure, about Brian and Derek and everybody that's departed basically from the band, and
Hmm.
how the subsequent life has gone on, and almost ignore the again the emotion of what's missing, and I think should be addressed. When I heard John had died and I hadn't been in touch with him, I felt so bad that I hadn't made the ground up and got to talk to him again. And then I'd remembered about, obviously, I'm thinking about all the stuff that he put into the band, and indeed the stuff that he put in and never really got recognised for. So that was another reason why I thought I'm going to kind of really point the finger at John and say he did that and he did that and he did that. And then that was another bit I pulled out some of John's bits and I played them. And there's one track in particular. It's called, well, I just named it Beneath the Waves because a little video I had for it was my kids on a beach in Barra.
By the way, I
Smelling
love
a
that one. I love that one.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, that was a complete John composition, and I'll never forget the day he actually played it because it was in a kind of Phil Collinsy mode at the time, and I had the CP70 with a big chorus on it, and he sat down, and obviously he'd just done "Let It All Come Down" on that other synth sound, and he played this thing, and I'm like, you need to teach me that. So I sat down with him and went through it and learned it. And I even remember, I couldn't stop playing it. That's why I can remember it all these years later. Funny, when I learn stuff in notation, I forget it. But if I learn it and I know it and I like it, I'll never forget it. And I remember even playing it to Jim and him kind of looking over, that sounds good, Mick. What is that? And I said, no, John's come up with this idea. Now, that's as far as it went. And I don't know why it didn't go any further than that because it's such a beautiful piece of music, such
Yeah,
a strong melody. I mean,
incredible.
even when I play it, it probably would lend itself to lyrics and a song put over the top of it. But so when I played it, and now again, I'm going to emphasize the sound on these keyboards are current now kind of plug-in sounds, and they just sound beautiful. I mean, I love it. It's good coming out of America right now. Spectrasonics software company. You know, in fact, you look a bit like the guy Eric from Spectrasonics.
No, he looks
He
like me. He looks
that's
like
true.
me.
Yeah, he does look like you. But anyway, they get some amazing sounds. So even those alone are so inspiring. You know, that you don't want to fill in too many notes. And a lot of
Right.
the time, because when I recorded a lot of it, obviously I just record the MIDI and I'll play it back and I've pulled bits out. All I did was start removing stuff. I see how much I can take away. A lot of these things where there was more notes in them than exists just now. I never added really anything. I just
Huh.
took stuff away because it was the more space, the bigger it got. That was another lesson I learned many years ago when MIDI
Simplify it.
came in. Well, when MIDI came in, and suddenly you could join up all these things. Because we had a guy, we were up in Bearsville once. I'll just divert into this wee offshoot about Garth Hudson, another idol of mine, an amazing old man. You know, he played with the band and up in Bearsville, he played keyboards with Bob Dylan and stuff. Garth
Hmm.
Hudson. We invited him up to the studio, and we thought he could play accordion as well. And I'm thinking, he's right up my street. He plays a Lowry organ, the accordion. And we were kind of on a wee bit of a Celtic trip. And he comes up with all this MIDI, a rack full of MIDI stuff. And he doesn't really know how to work it. He just plugged it all, chained it all up. So everything's playing it all at the same time. And I know that experience. You feel that's good because you hear it for the first time. But basically, it's like, it was terrible. You know, it was just, everything was a big blur of mush. When
You know,
all you would needed would be a couple of notes in the organ and it sounds so much bigger. And that's
it,
exactly what's happened with this record. I'd be playing a wee note and I'd fill in the left hand. My left hand's terrible. And I think, what if I just take the left hand out altogether? And I'm like, well, that sounds great. That's the space we need. And that's really how that comes about, this sound.
Man, you are way too critical when it comes to the left hand and the magic you bring on the keys, buddy. But it's funny you say that because I was just watching these old, like vintage videos of like Vangelis or Jar, doing some of
Yeah,
his,
yeah,
and I'm
him,
like looking
Shell.
at like spaceship, spaceship bridge type equipment, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what does all that stuff do? I mean, like I'm
yeah,
genuinely asking the question. So when you talk about making it simpler. You can make an emotional connection no matter what the caliber is of the equipment or the massive equipment around you. So I think
absolutely.
it's interesting what you're saying about sometimes the connection can be something a little bit simpler. But do you
Yeah,
obviously giving him credit for what he
yeah.
did and reflecting on the band probably opened up a flood of memories, didn't it, Mick?
Oh, totally. I mean, I love John. He's such a funny guy and such a gentleman. Derek will even tell you because he replaced Derek, and I know that John got in touch with Derek, almost saying, "Look, I won't take this gig if you don't want me to." That sort of thing. He's so respectful. I mean, he
Yeah.
was a total professional. He was an incredible musician. Me and Charlie, we are what we are, and Jim, we're kind of three Glasgow guys. Basic. I did a bit, I had a bit of musical training, but we're a different league from these top musicians, and it's clear once you get in the room with them, that becomes pretty clear pretty quickly. And you can see the guy is so talented, and his mind's going so fast. But apart from all that, he was such a nice, funny guy. He would always really bring a smile to any situation, whether it was breakfast and you're feeling crap and you're just about to do a 9 hour bus journey and you're all waiting to go on the bus, or whether you're kind of finished the gig and you're just drained. John was always really up, positive guy. It was amazing. I really feel sad. I'm feeling even more emotional now that I didn't get the chance to fix it.
Hey man, that's the way life works. You get the moments you get, and you shouldn't kick yourself for that. Is it difficult? Was it difficult for to see him arrive? Having we both know Derek and have a lot of respect for him. Was it
Yeah,
because I don't know like how the dynamics of the band were at that time, but Derek is out and John is in. Like, how
yeah.
was that difficult for you, or were you just like
Yeah,
business as usual at that point?
no, no, of course, no, it wasn't business as usual. Derek being out, obviously, Derek, apart from playing bass and even be any instrument, any member of any band are much, much more than the instrument they play. There's so many more functions that roll into it when you're on tour, and Derek's function was so crucial to keep the morale up as well. In the same way that John did, but Derek was just funny guy, and you could always rely on him to kind of lighten the situation if things got kind of weird. Or he was great for all of that stuff, Derek.
Mm,
When John came in, we knew John already because he'd already been playing with Peter Gabriel, and
right, I
we
was
knew
gonna
about
say.
yeah, we knew about his history and Kate Bush, and we knew his the what he was going to bring to the table. Now that was exciting.
Yeah.
Even though we're losing Derek, he's a good pal and all that, and all the stuff that went down there. The idea we're getting this guy in from this world of really kind of different song structure, really kind of these artists that he worked with were of a different thing altogether. They weren't like new romantics or new wave or any of that stuff. They were real musical kind of creative people. So that was kind of exciting, knowing that John's going to bring this element into the band. So
Well,
that would move you on faster than kind of being thinking, oh, we're losing Derek. Oh no, what we're going to
you
do?
know, it's because you bring a piece to the arsenal from Peter Gabriel and like his sort of completely out of the box thinking. It can give people
Yeah,
new creative direction. Derek did tell a funny story though, and I don't know. You might want to tell me if this is true or not, Mick. It sounds true, and I
yeah.
never know Derek to
Go
be
on.
dishonest. But he said you guys were playing the Rainbow on your way to Australia, and you guys it was like a two-show gig, but you guys didn't know, so you did an afternoon show, and Mario shows up in the green room and says, "Hey, so for tonight's show," and somebody speaks up from the band and goes, "We didn't know we were doing two shows. We're on our way to Australia." And Mario's response was, according to Derek, was, "Boys, let me ask you something. How are you going to fly to Australia with broken legs?"
Yeah.
Typical,
Yeah.
whiskey. I don't know. I don't know if the story is true, but man, it's
I don't
funny.
even, I don't even remember playing the rainbow.
Yeah, or the whiskey. It was the whiskey you guys were
Oh, the
playing. I'm
whiskey.
sorry, my
Oh, yeah.
mistake. Yeah,
All right,
because
the
he owned
whiskey.
both. He owned both. So,
That's right. Right. Oh,
uh,
yeah. Yeah. Oh, no,
but
I remember the whiskey. That the whiskey was amazing. I mean,
yeah,
those early years were incredible when we were floating about Los Angeles. Los Angeles, to me, always looked like something from the television. It looked like
yeah,
Batman, or it looked like all those 60s, early 60s, early 70s, Colombo. When you see these old classic cars and they're just driving about the sun and the
yeah,
palm trees, and it was so magical. So to suddenly end up there, you're
yeah.
actually feeling like you're inside an old movie most of the time. It was
Yeah, the
brilliant.
city the city looks like it does still in TV. So,
Yeah,
yeah. All
it's
of a sudden you
fantastic.
recognize everything, but I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, no, that's okay.
Where
No,
were you
because
living? Where were you living at that time? Were you living out here?
no,
Were
no,
you in
no.
LA?
That
You were
was
just
just a
visiting?
part of a tour. Yeah, no, probably in some
Ah.
crappy wee hotel in downtown. Fucking, I don't know.
Uh,
But
probably
I do
Chateau
remember.
Marmont.
Because people go, I mean, I'm actually going to apologize right now, Ethan, because I know I talk too fast and my
Good.
Glasgow accent is still so strong. But when we were out there in Los Angeles after the whiskey gig, I remember there was a bunch of girls, really pretty. Yeah, all the girls looked amazing in Los Angeles. And they're all taken by the accent. Oh, you got a cute accent. Do you want to come with us? And I ended up in the back of this convertible car with four girls, right? And we're driving about Los Angeles, and we're saying, "Oh, we'll take you around Beverly Hills. We'll take you around all the houses of where Batman lives and where all the stuff is." I'm
Good.
just sitting
Yeah.
in the back of this car with these beautiful babes, thinking, "I really made it here.
Yeah.
I've cracked it."
Yes, you did, buddy. Yes, you did. I mean, you're so glad at that point. I'm so glad I got into music and didn't take my parents' advice to be like a solicitor or you know,
Yeah,
a school teacher. But it's funny because like all those stories from Hollywood, when people get here and they get a chance to kind of break the scene, they're all fascinating. That time period was fascinating.
yeah, it
Um,
was.
and I love that you guys had a chance to experience some of that. I mean, the stories from you guys are just exactly what you would hope they would be on some level. And
Yeah.
did you guys always think when you started out, did you not guys know this is going to click into a career for me? Was there a moment when you're
Um,
like this is
I
going to
think
work?
so. I mean, obviously, those early years when you don't know, you've only got one. Well, we get a three-album deal initially, but you don't know if you're going to make album two if they really don't like album one. They certainly don't
Right.
never get to album three of album two shit. Even though we did provide what appeared to be a shit album two, we still completed the contract and made an album three. But you made me think about Los Angeles there, Ethan, because ultimately when it got better, actually the time I went to Herbie's house, we're staying in the Sunset Marquee. That's quite a famous
Of
hotel. I
course,
don't. Is that
yes.
still there?
Oh yeah.
Is that? Yeah. I mean, that was just incredible because again, I remember looking over and seeing the guy Roy Schneider. Is it the guy that was in
Yeah.
Jaws?
Roy
That Roy
Scheider,
Schneider.
Jaws, yeah. Yeah, cuz that was his
And he's
hangout.
sitting there. He's on the phone, and the phones weren't even a thing then. But getting himself a suntan, reading a script, and I'm like, oh, this is just incredible. Coming out of Scotland and like Glasgow and ending up sitting next to Roy Schneider at a swimming pool. You can't believe it. No, but to answer your question, there is a period where you think this is the last. I could end up back in the shop floor. I was an engineer in a factory. I used to go
Yeah.
to work with a boiler suit and come back with oil all over me, grease and get under machines and fix them. To get back to that was always a frightened, scary nightmare. This is all going to blow up. They're going to find that we're actually crap, and I'm going to have to go chasing my job back. You know what I mean? That stayed with me for a good five albums.
Isn't that motivational though? Like I'm gonna have to get put on my boiler suit and walk back, and the lads are gonna see me come back and be like, "Ah, nice try." Uh,
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
can use it as your motivation. But there is definitely something about you as an artist and that mix of artists in that band that had to signal success was imminent because it was so unique in its sound. I remember talking to Keith Forsley at Fox and the Hounds, a place you've probably been to.
Yeah.
It's a place I go to disrupt all the England fans during the World Cup. It doesn't matter who they're playing. I am for the other team. I'm the guy shouting Cameroon. But anyway, I'm in
Yeah.
there with Keith Forsley, and we were talking about he'd done the Billy Idol stuff, and he was talking about the break to
Yeah.
do like what a break the Breakfast Club was with you guys. The song Don't You Forget About Me came right out of the movie. He pulled it all out of the film, seeing dailies from the film. And Derek said, yeah, he was around. We think Derek thought he wanted to produce the band, which that would have been a smart play for a guy like that. But he
Yeah.
was, but even he was talking about the firepower within that lineup.
Yeah. Well,
Like was kind of it was like a landmark type of unit in terms of its caliber.
yeah. That's interesting. I mean, when we met him initially, I believe it was Charlie and I that met him first of all on a plane to Los Angeles, funny enough. And it just came over like a mental, enthusiastic Simple Minds fan.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about he was a record producer or anything. Ultimately, we heard it. I think he played drums with Donna Summer,
Yes, yes, I think he
something
did
like
too.
that. Yeah, it was something like that. I thought that made me think, oh shit, he must be quite good, but he must be really old because Donna Summer I was about 4 year old.
I think he was an
No, but
assistant to Giorgio Moroder,
yeah,
if
yeah.
I
I mean,
remember him telling me. But maybe, but not to derail your story. Continue. I'm sorry.
no, that was really all it was. It almost sounded like he's too good to be true. So that's why we kind of dismissed a lot of it because you just
Yeah.
sounded like an over enthusiastic fan. But he retained that because he did produce the Don't You Forget About Me in the studio, and he was a great producer. I believe he
Yes.
actually went and produced more stuff with the band after I'd left. But all the whole time he was still full on, just like a mental drummer. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can really live on that enthusiasm. Like I found Steve Lillywhite was the exact same. You're just buzzing all the time, and it's catchy. You get infected by
Yeah. It's
it.
unreal when you get those kind of personality. It's like a human computer,
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
human
and
computer
it
programmed to
keeps you
art.
moving.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Uh,
it keeps you motivated.
do you have like moments that stand out in your days? Like, was it Live Aid or like was it the movie? It's funny because you did so much great music prior to that film, but I feel like that film really introduced you guys.
Yeah,
But
that's
those of us
definitely.
knew the work previous. So it's interesting. Like, do you have a moment that stands out and you're like, "That's it, baby. That's it. That's our moment. That's the moment we really knew. I'm not going back to the machine shop today."
Well, today's an important one because in my life now, because I'm a recovering alcoholic, everything is in today, right? It's
uh,
just for today. But
there's
no,
only
I
two
think with
forms
the
of alcoholics: those that are alcoholics, and those recovering alcoholics, and those that will be recovering alcoholics. So continue.
yeah, those that are dead. But I think when you come back to Glasgow as the sort of conquering success story, that's
Mhm.
obviously a kind of milestone you think about because all your family are coming, all your pals that you used to know, suddenly everybody that you know, and
Yeah.
all. There was one gig in Glasgow and we did it was a club, it's not there anymore, before the Barrowlands and all that. It was Tiffany's. And I think with Sons and Fascination was kind of out. I don't know if it charted or not, but Sons and Fascination that kind of felt like it was a groundbreaker. We'd got off Arista. Arista was a wee bit of a shackle in a lot of ways, albeit that they were so amazed at the fact we're actually making records. We're making records in Abbey Road and we're doing all this stuff. But Arista felt like, even though they had an image of, in America, their image was good because
Mhm.
you'd Patti Smith, I mean, you had Lou Reed and you'd Iggy, and there was all this stuff. But in Britain, they were just like a kind of really showy, kind of crap label. I hate to say the Bay City Rollers, but and I've kind of grown to really respect the Bay City Rollers, particularly Les, who I'd met a couple of times.
The Bay City
But
Rollers have been relitigated in music memory for
yeah,
many of us. Continue.
yeah, oh, definitely. I mean, there's a whole sad story behind the Rollers that I think is
Yeah.
really, really sad. But so we've established ourselves as we're making records. We're into about 4 or 5 records here. The gigs are amazing. You can feel like, well, we've got a swagger now. We've got a kind of a real spring in the step of we've got this. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I really
Hmm.
felt that. And even at the time when we got dropped from Arista, and I've said this before that Jim have kind of painted a picture that we were almost destitute, and that Richard Branson and Virgin came along and bought the debt and saved the day. I never felt any of that at all because I felt the band were so good. Every night we were nailing it. The crowds were fantastic. The music was sounding great. I felt we didn't even need a record company. We didn't need a fucking record. We didn't need anything. We've got this under control. So that's where I was. That's where I was at by that point, by about year 3.
Were you surprised by the business? Did you like the accounting and the practices of the business? Or were you always in the band always on top of that? Or were you ever bushwhacked or ambushed at some point like, wait a minute, this is where we stand? Because I've had those conversations with real landmark artists. Steve Kilbey comes to mind, biggest record the Church ever did, Under the Milky Way, and or Starfish was the record, and he gets a letter from Arista, who we're just now talking about, and the
Yeah,
letter starts off, "Congratulations, this album is made or such and such ranked such and such. You now owe $530,000." You now only owe something like the second paragraph was like some bank statement of like you now only owe $500,000, something ridiculous. And he
yeah,
said that's when he kind of calculated that every guy who carried a bass guitar for him or every stop the tour bus made. And as a young guy, he wasn't really aware of that because his focus was the music. We did
yeah.
you
Of
guys
course.
were you guys able
Yeah,
to
no,
navigate the business pretty well?
that was the exact same for me anyway, Ethan. But Jim definitely had a more eye on the bill.
Hmm.
So much so, I remember we're in the Manor. You know the Manor. Virgin had the Manor. It's one of Richard Branson's houses. A big, beautiful house, and the staff and amazing dinners. A big banqueting table every night. Give it another bottle of wine. We'd be
Yeah,
getting into
yeah.
the studio 9 o'clock, totally hammered after dinner. But Jim once says, "Wait a minute, these bottles of wine are all going on the bill."
Yes.
Cut all this stuff down. So he definitely had an angle on trying to keep the budget under control at certain bits because obviously we'd learned from Arista. We left there with about £500,000 worth of debt as well. So we knew that there's a bill. That was another point. We quite liked on those early days. I'd be coming down from Glasgow and Arista would send a limousine to Heathrow Airport to pick us up. It makes you feel great. You get in a limo and you're thinking like a rock star, even though we're nowhere near rock star. Just a novelty. And Jim was like, we don't really need to get limos, do we? And I'm like, oh shit.
Smart.
Because
Smart.
it's all going on the bill. But
Yeah.
as far as the different elements of how much money you make and how you're aware of it. In fact, I was talking about this today. We were in Ireland, kind of probably maybe mid 80s or something like that. We're kind of running on a par with U2 equally with about the same amount of success. It looked like on paper. Now I'm still living in a simple house in Glasgow, and we got invited to a party at Adam Clayton's house, right? And I remember driving up to Adam Clayton's. I don't know if you know U2 at all. Have you ever been to any of their houses? But I'm looking at this.
Not recently, but I'm waiting for my invite.
I'm looking at this total mansion thinking, shit, look at
Yeah,
the size
yeah.
of this house. Anyway, the party wasn't in the mansion. And it was one of those old Irish houses. And I remember somebody, it may have been Adam telling us about the history about a lot of these houses in Ireland when the wealth, they started to shun it and a lot of them got burnt down and destroyed because it was a real class difference with people, with big landowners and wealthy people.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this total, it's like pillars at the front door, and I'm thinking, where the hell are they getting all the money? Where's their money? And the party wasn't even in that house. It was in the gatehouse in a cottage. The cottage was much still bigger than my house.
It's cold.
And all the rest of the band were in there with their wives and loads of, and it was such a warm family. It was like this big people all knew each other for years, and they've all grown into success together.
Yeah.
And they've all grown into having lots of money together. And I'm thinking, we're nowhere near that. If it
Yeah.
was, so, I'm thinking, that's when you think I'm living in the wrong country for a start. I should be living in Ireland.
Hey man, it's not too late. It's not too late to get there. Yeah,
I
it
know.
is it is interesting when you go to Ireland or you go to like see the other side of the fence, so to speak, and you're like, what? Noel Monk was telling me that Van Halen, when he was managed, he did the Sex Pistols, and then he bounced to Van Halen, and he said Warner Brothers, where I was based, so we had a lot in common. He said they would put everything on Van Halen's bill just to see if Van Halen's management would catch it. And they would come to the tours
Yeah.
and come to locations and say we're throwing a party for the band tonight, and then that receipt for the party would go to the band, and the band was unaware. And
All
so when
right.
he got
Wow.
involved, he's like, no, this is going back to you. This party was your idea. And like sometimes, the bands are so focused and there's I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of like Spinal Tap, it's a college town.
Yeah.
So they're constantly moving that they can't
Yeah.
always, be in touch with the arithmetic on the accounting side. But I'm glad you
I
guys
know.
you
But
guys
that's the
kept your
thing.
machine running.
Once you do that, once you start thinking about that, I think the creativity suffers.
It
Because
does.
then
It does.
you're going to make compromises. You're going to say, well, maybe we don't have to go into, maybe we don't need a rehearsal space for a month. Maybe we don't need a private house to own. Maybe we can pre-production stuff. I think a lot of when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of what makes the record great, really, it's no how careful you were with the budget. It's no how
Right.
frugal you were at buying. I'll just buy a little Casio instead of that 15 grand Fairlight.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all out for get the good shit, buy the good wine,
Right. Right.
enjoy the bloody party, and then be creative.
Well, you came from like you came from putting on your dungarees and climbing under things.
Yeah,
So it's like it's all a step up. So it may
definitely.
be therapeutic to think in those terms, and your creativity does suffer. I totally agree with that. And it's funny we were talking about the accents or the speed in which you talk, and I never forget talking to Brian Johnson and Angus Young goes, "You may have to subtitle all of this."
Yeah, I've had that already up there. That's why I'm thinking maybe I should try slow down a
No,
little bit.
don't. You're good. You're good. But it's just so funny. Like everyone's aware of that. He's like, you may have to subtitle some of this, Ethan. Anyway,
Yeah.
fun stuff. So, in putting this record together, what are your plans moving forward? Are you going to do some dates with this, or what? What do you think? Some symphonic
I've
dates?
not
What's
planned anything. I've got my guy, the other guy that really helped me, Ben Barclay. He's the guy that did the cover, and he's the really guy that pushed me.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
would
That's
really,
yeah. He sent me an email.
yeah, yeah, Ben. And he's already trying to get me to start volume 2.
Well,
And I'm letting he actually, I think he put volume because we've done it in vinyl. We've got a vinyl version of this out. It's only for a pre-order only, so that I'm not going to sit with a shitload of vinyl records.
yeah.
It's all, I think vinyl, it's kind of picked up a little bit, but I still feel it's a little bit of a novelty more than anything else, really. I've not got I've not even got a CD player, never mind a record player. But as for actually going out and playing it, and the idea of there's a few things. When I lived up in I'm sorry I'm drifting off all these. When I was up in Barra, and a few people asked me to get involved in some local, really things in the local church or the school. I've been
Yeah.
involved with the kids in the school quite a lot. And sometimes I get to play a wee bit and I'll maybe want to. And I feel like, because I just pull a laptop up, got all the plugins on it, so you can get this massive sound with a simple little MIDI keyboard. And I played in the church thing a wee while ago, and it was really spacey, and it was a perfect location just for to do that intimate kind of music and create a whole vibe. And I did like it, but as for actually getting out and kind of playing the gigs and doing stuff, there would have to be a lot more interest and I need help.
Well,
I've not got any gear for a start.
we can get it to that point. Maybe you do consider a cathedral tour because the sound in those places is magnificent.
It's a good one,
So,
yeah,
but
it is because I went to a cathedral gig actually not that long ago. It was all the Hans Zimmer soundtrack stuff. It was playing in Paisley Cathedral. It was absolutely beautiful. I loved it.
yeah, is it true Hans Zimmer only got into music because he was inspired by your playing? It is if I
That's
say
one
so.
hundred
Let's move on.
percent, 100% true.
Do you have a gig? Do you have a gig that stands out that is like one of your favorites, or a gig or two that was just one of those
Um,
moments? that you?
Obviously, the most obvious one to go for is Live Aid, isn't it? Because it was so big and it was so massive. Again, I was talking to the school again. It was a bunch of kids, and I was told to present the prizes, right? And they said if you could give a little motivational talk, that would be great. So I thought, what's going to motivate them? I suppose Live Aid, selling 50 million records, and you think all this stuff would be. So I tried to make a story about when I left school, or when I first went to the high school, in my music class. My class was a mental school. We all got kicked out of the music class and told never to come back. And I was really, really deflated because I felt I had private accordion lessons. I felt the only thing I had to offer was my music, and the teacher had a reputation. And all I could remember of his teacher was her walking away across a field in the distance. And that's the last I saw the teacher for my whole school. After I never got a single lesson. So I was a dejected wee, like 13-year-old kid. But before the end of the decade, I'm playing in New York live on the biggest TV show in Britain. And my point was, how do I get from that destitute to being really New York? You know what I mean? It was like the way your life goes, it can go in any direction. And I feel like you're destined to head in a certain direction as long as you're honest with yourself,
Yeah.
and you stick to your guns, and that's all I could do basically. So when it came to when I said, then then before we know it, we're playing Live Aid to 100,000 JFK Stadium, and 2 billion on the television. I'm trying to impress all these kids and selling 50 million records. I got nothing.
Really?
Everybody's just like that. Yeah, they're all sitting looking at me like they don't care. I felt like a right boastful, these guys that
You
kind of
know
name
what?
drop
They
all
were
the
just
time.
they were being polite in their conservative response. And you know what I always say? You're not destined to be a rock star until you've been thrown out of music class. That tells me you've got
Yeah, that's a
the
good one.
cre
I should have used that one. That's very good. I never thought of that. I get chucked out of music class.
Now, with the Live Aid experience, like what were you at? That was two simultaneous concerts, and you said were you at RFK Stadium? Where
Yeah,
did you play
yeah.
that?
We were in Philadelphia. We were in Philadelphia.
So who was the lineup there? Do you remember that day with you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was loads there. Of course, there was loads. Jack Nicholson introduced us. That was kind of a moment.
So
And
wait,
we had,
wait, all right, let's press pause right there. Jack Nicholson introduces you. So does he
yeah,
come
Jack
in and like
Nicholson.
wants to meet you guys before he does the intro, or does he just pop up there
Well,
and do it?
as far as I was concerned, he just popped up there. I didn't know he was going to introduce us. I
Wow.
just, what's Jack Nicholson doing here? Yeah, I'll tell you a good laugh. I was like, my wife was well, she wasn't my wife at the time, she was my girlfriend at the time, and I was just keen to get back to the party, right? Because
Yeah, yeah,
we were on in the afternoon. It was 6 o'clock British time. We were on in the middle of the afternoon sometime.
right.
So it was a long day by the time it got into the evening. And of course, you'd seen all these stars everywhere. And we went on the bus back there was two hotels. There was the Four Seasons on one side of the road and some other five-star hotel on the other side of the road. And everybody that was involved were between these two hotels. And I wasn't really clear where's the party going to be, right? All I need to know is we need to get back fast so that I can get into a good clobber and get ready for a good swally.
Right.
Anyway, so I was straight back to the room, and I got changed, and it says, right, let's go and find out. First of all, let's find the party. And we went down to this big room that was always set up for a party, and there was not a soul there, right? And who walks in but Jack Nicholson? And I'm like, oh, this is the right place. And I braved it, and I went up to him, and I said like I knew him all his life. I goes, hey, Jack, how are you doing? And he's like, hey, hello. And pretty much that's all I had.
But
I
he
didn't
is
know.
he's really good in situations like that though, isn't he, Mick? Like he's really you can engage with him, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, no, he was obviously looking for the party as well.
Well, I
We
was gonna
needed a
say
drink,
earlier.
basically.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, if you don't know where the party is, a good rule of thumb is follow Jack Nicholson. At least that's how
Yeah,
it used to be.
yeah.
He would know. He would know.
Yeah,
He's
well, he sort of drifted
notorious.
off rather once the conversation kind of ended rather abruptly. He
Well,
sort of thought, I'm in the wrong hotel here. I
no,
don't know who
come
this
on.
guy is. I don't know what this guy from Scotland's on about.
So, this did you meet him after the introduction or before?
No, that was at the party and the night after of it. No,
After.
before it, I never met him. Yeah,
Oh,
that
so
was after the
you
concert. I was like 1 in the morning.
Oh, so you didn't even you get so did he even can he connect the dots that you were in the band he introduced? He must have
No,
known.
he
He's
didn't
so
have a clue who the hell I was.
really?
He just heard this weird guy with a weird accent
I'm
who I think I'm supposed to know him, but the way I approached him was like, well, we're best friends already, and he just didn't know
That's how you do it though. That's how you do it. If you're gonna make the approach, just do it like you're best friends.
it. Yeah,
Um, so you do so you're doing Live Aid. Jack Nicholson introduces you. I got you off topic and I apologize, but the Nicholson thing,
that-
come on, that's
yeah,
unique.
yeah.
So did you guys have a sound check? How'd they work it with sound checks and all this talent? And how
No,
was the backstage with all you characters?
yeah, it was pretty bedlam as I recall. It was a case of I remember what's his name? Who was the promoter again? Big promoter guy. What's the guy's name? He's famous. The big house in
Bob
San
Geldof,
Francisco.
probably. Was
No,
it
no, he
Geldof?
was in England. No, it was a guy that does.
Was it
He was
Graham?
actually in Graham. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Graham. What's his first name again? What was the
Uh,
first name?
because you're
Graham.
asking me, I can't recall.
Bill
He's in
Graham.
Apocalypse Now. Bill,
Bill Graham. Yeah, he's in Apocalypse Now. Bill Graham had warned us. He'd given us a specific something like 13 minutes and 40 seconds or something. It was a really specific number. You better be on and off in that frame. And
yeah.
he was kind of gangster about the guy.
Oh
You
yeah.
think
Oh yeah.
you're not going to your legs will all be broken. You'll break all your fingers if you don't get off. It felt like that. So we're already going on thinking, shit, we better watch this. How many songs? I think we've only got 3 or 4 songs. And I even believe Jim thought we had to get off before we actually did have to get off. But no, there was a case of we've just got to do what we're told here. There was no kind of, we're funny when there's a whole load of rock stars there. There's no really rock star. You can't be a rock star amongst other rock stars. Do you feel that? I don't know. I'm not a rock
Yeah,
star.
that's a problem I have every day, Mick. I've been trying to deal with it since childhood, but I'm at a point now where I've accepted it. No, go ahead. So who's back there with
No,
you? Who's
well, my main recollection of who the big rock stars were, and I've told this story already, and it was Daryl Hall and John Oates. They
Yeah,
were doing
yeah, I can see
they were
that.
doing the rock star thing. He had the long hair. They were big at the time, and they had the limousine waiting at the bottom of the stage, and they ran off and ran into the limousine and shut the doors. Now, everybody knows this limousine isn't going to go anywhere because it can't get out of the place. It's stuck there, and it was warm and humid. And the windows come down a wee bit eventually. And I'm looking at the limousine thinking, they're going to roast in there. And then the windows are all the way down. And then the doors open up, and they're sitting, then they come out and they just mingle. The whole exit was kind of blowing away. It was a bit Spinal Tap about it.
Yeah,
And of course,
and things have changed
sorry,
between Oates and Hall now. Anyway, but continue.
no, and the other one that surprised me was because Steve Lillywhite had been working with the Rolling Stones. And of
Hmm.
course, we knew Kirsty MacColl really well. I totally love Kirsty. She turns up in another limousine with Keith Richard and Bob Dylan. Right? I'm like, Kirsty, getting out a limo with these two. How did you pull that one? you know, and
What was her
she's quite
answer?
well, she just caught up with me. I think she was married to Steve at the time, so she'd probably met him about 10 or 20 times
Yeah,
already
yeah.
because he just finished their album. But
Bill
yeah,
Graham.
no,
Bill Graham, man, he was a tough dude.
he was a tough dude.
Do you
Yeah,
remember
because
when he
we actually
defended?
went to his house as well. We went
Oh,
up to a
did you?
party in his house. Yeah, I think we were kind of looking at possibly him doing promoting a tour for us or something like that. But I don't know what happened. It never transpired. But I remember going up to his house because he did a lot of the heavy metal stuff, didn't he?
Hmm.
In the driveway going up. Have you been up there at all? Do you know where he lives?
No. Is this the one in San Francisco? Is this his place up there?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's in San Francisco because there was
No.
big, like a big skull from one of the tours from, I don't know who the band, one of the heavy rock bands. So he'd all the serious memorabilia from mega
Yeah.
tours. As you approach this house, you're already terrified looking at these skull and crossbones and Dobermans, and it's like fucking hell. Where are we going here?
My
So it was a
introduction.
guy.
Oh,
Sorry,
I'm
on you
sorry.
go.
Continue. No, no,
No, no,
continue. I
no,
don't
on you
mean.
go.
No, no,
No,
no, no, no. You are way more important, and I don't want to talk over you. No, a thought popped into my head, but continue.
No, go.
Go.
Give me the thought. Give
No,
me the
no,
thought.
no, no, because people are gonna hate me for talking over you. So you're
all I
gonna
was
have to
going,
get
all I
your
was going
story
to
out
say
first.
was he instilled fear in me that
Yes,
made me
yes,
not want to even talk to the guy.
yeah.
There isn't, even though I saw him and he was there, I never said a single word to Bill Graham in my life.
100% confidence in his abilities to get things done. That guy had supreme confidence that he could figure anything out. I met him. It was same similar experience of like, whoa, I felt like Darth Vader had walked into the elevator. He was
Yeah,
famous. He came on my radar because he defended Prince when he was opening for the Rolling Stones and he got booed off stage and someone even threw a keg at him. Everyone was throwing beer bottles at Prince and he went
yeah.
out. He went out in
Did he?
front of this angry audience and he started berating them for giving
Right.
Prince a hard time. And one guy, he
Wow.
singled out one guy. And there's video of this, I'm pretty sure. I've definitely seen video of this, so I'm sure it's out there somewhere. But he singles out one guy and goes, "Hey, you think you can do better? Then come on up here. Come on up here and do better." And the guy didn't go. And so Bill Graham
Yeah,
pulls out money out of his pocket and starts throwing it at him like a cheap stripper and goes, "Here,
yeah.
take this. That's the money for your ticket. Get the fuck out of here." And the
Wow.
whole audience shaped
That's
up. And
that's
I'm like,
cool.
yeah, it was really cool to stand up for an artist, any artist who's
Yeah, I
trying to do
like
their
that.
best. It was really one of
It
those things
is.
where he understood his business. He understood it.
That's brilliant. Anything that stands up like that, given the circumstances that you're in, when you think all the odds. I saw a similar one. I think it was with Sinead O'Connor,
Yeah.
Chris
Chris,
Christopherson. Think was
yes.
that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Same idea. And there's a similar thing I remember seeing. I mean, every day when you're in the public eye like that, you feel like you're expected to behave in
Hmm.
such a way that's toe the line. But there was an incident happened when we were in Rio, doing the festival in Rio, and there was loads of bands in the festival. It was one of these massive festivals. And on the bus with us was Simply Red. And Mick Hucknall was sitting in the seat in front of me. And the bus had little windows at the top, these slidey windows. You
Yeah.
get something that there's no window there, but you can slide the top to let the air go into the behind. So the bus is about to leave the hotel to go to the gig or the sound check. And Mick Hucknall gets up and pulls it open and kind of waves it to some fans that are all outside, right? And a guy just gobs on him and spat right in his face. And I'm like, oh
Oh,
shit. Because that used to be a thing in the punk days. There was a lot of spitting going
yeah. I've
on.
heard.
Anyway,
I've heard. Tacky shit.
Mick Hucknall just doesn't waste a second, jumps down the front of the bus, gets off the bus, comes and grabs the guy by the throat and starts laying into him. And I'm like, yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Just
Get
didn't
him.
let him away with it and came back on the bus and went away.
Business
I
as
thought that was
usual.
excellent. Yeah, business as usual.
So, 1980 something, early 1980s, I'm in Music Plus and I rip through the sections and I'm in a hurry and I grab some stuff and I go to grab a Simple Minds tape. Tapes, kids, are what we had before CDs, before we had downloads. It's a little thing. You put it in, you press
Yeah,
play, for those who don't know. And
yeah.
I'm grabbing some tapes. I go to grab a Simple Minds tape and I grab Simply Red by mistake because they're next to each other. And I go through the cashier starts ringing me up and and I get outside and I realize, oh, this is the wrong, damn, I meant to grab Simple Minds. And I go back and I said, this is Simply Red. I want Simple Minds. And the cashier was like, you made that mistake? Like berated me. Like, how could you possibly make a mistake between these two? And I'm like, I was in a hurry. And anyway, the shame you had to
That's a
endure at
good
Music
mistake.
Plus. Yeah.
But probably
Like,
that would be the same place in the rack, though. If it was
right.
international records, they would be right next to each other simply. But I could make that same mistake, Ethan.
Yeah. Simply and simple. It was right next to each other on the rack. But
Yeah, yeah,
the shame those Music Plus employees would inflict on all of us was just beyond all sort of sense of dignity. It's beyond.
yeah.
But I gotta
It
say,
sounds like
what were you
sorry
gonna
when you
say?
go.
No,
I was
no,
going to
you.
say it sounds like that movie. You know the one. What was the movie again? With the guys in the record shop and
High
everything was
fidelity.
a
Are we
top
thinking high
high
fidelity?
fidelity. Yeah, I love that when he's kind of really slamming people off for having bad taste. What a great movie that was.
Oh man, I know it's so funny because those guys, the Music Plus cashiers and the warehouse guys later, they had their own culture. Like they knew you didn't, and they wanted to make sure you knew they knew.
Yeah, that's
And when you're
right.
like 12, 13, and 14, and they're like 18 and probably still in the same business, And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you listen, kid. Let me tell you. You haven't heard anything until you heard the Beatles' White Album. What is with this shit you're picking up?" Not that
Yeah.
they said that when I got your record. It's a different set of circumstances, but it's just kind of funny to reflect back. That was the time, though, right? We went to the record
Yeah.
shops, and those
Yeah.
guys,
Definitely.
and they provided a
Yeah.
great service because they tell you what was new and what was good and what was in tune, and that's something I do
Absolutely.
miss. Berating
Yeah.
aside, I do miss the people telling me, "Hey, this
Yeah.
is good."
Because that was how it did then. It was word of mouth, and especially new records that weren't charted or weren't getting the radio play. The,
Yeah,
the record stores were the place to find out information.
right.
I remember we were in Australia one time, and a guy that owned a record shop had been to the gig, and he invited Charlie and I down to this record shop, I don't know, Sydney or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just says to it, because the Walkmans were in, we were Walkmans right up all the time, the little
That's
Sonys,
right.
help yourself to anything you want. I'm like, what? And that's the first time I actually got off the wall when I heard the Michael Jackson track Off the Wall. And I took
Hmm.
the cassette and I just loved that record. It kind of stayed in my wee Walkman for months.
That is a fun record, by the way. That is a fun
It
record.
was it was a great
You know,
record at the time. It was
what?
great.
Yeah, it still is. Still is.
Yeah, it is.
One of the cool
Yeah.
things that happened in one of those shops. I remember going, "Is this any good?" And I pointed at a record, and the cashier goes, "Well, let's find out." And rips it right open and puts it onto
Oh,
the store
nice.
player. And I'm like, "That's
Nice.
how you do it."
Yeah,
You
that's
play it
good.
for every, yeah, really good. I'm said that guy's
Brilliant.
probably he's probably the head of promotion and development over at A&R or something now.
Yeah, I
But
hope so. I hope we done well because that's
really,
exactly the kind of people you need in music.
oh yeah, that's the kind of people we got to get behind this album, which is excellent, by the way. We're going to be putting a link in where you can get it. A couple of questions before we go. Mick, you're so fun to talk to,
Yeah.
and I can't let it be another 15 years before we speak again. But
No.
um, what was your favorite video shoot? I got that question this week when I told someone we were going to be talking. Do you have a favorite? I mean, you are the James Dean of the Keys. You are like the Scottish James Dean. You have that cool look about you in all these videos. Like you almost look when you're doing the videos, Mick, and the camera comes in on you. You're like, oh yeah, you have like this like I'm on the cover of Esquire magazine, just doing my thing. This is what the professional does, kids. Like I bang it out. Here I am. Watch me. But do
Yeah.
you have a video you really like?
I hated the video shoots.
Did
Ours were
you?
all terrible. I felt they were all awful. They're probably one that was nearly the one I don't even remember, Glitter and Prize, where I'm in my pants and they painted me in gold. I've told a kind
Yes.
of story about that before, where the girl was doing it, was rubbing me all down with gold paint and right in I'm like, oh, I'm frightened because you can almost see
Yeah.
the outline of my privates now. I don't want to get an erection, like that
Uh,
was kind of awkward.
that has worked for rock stars in the past, though, buddy. But it's interesting. Like you look back at those videos, and do you get uncomfortable? I was with Derek at Universal, and we went to a restaurant, and they put some of his videos, like you're both of you guys, obviously the band, on loop, and he loved it. He loved it. Who
Yeah,
wouldn't? Who
yeah,
wouldn't? We
yeah.
all did. We all did. But it's just kind of
I know Derek's different. He's a different sort of animal from me. He is a rock star. I'm
yes.
not a rock star, but Derek's definitely a rock star. That's why I felt so bad when Dan he got the sack and Don't You became big and suddenly he's watching us the first time we're in Live Aid. That's the first gig we did without him. That was the
Yeah.
first gig John Giblin did, and I really feel for it. And even when I talked to him today about it, I'm really intrigued to feel how he tells that story. It really gets you emotionally, and,
Yeah.
that I never thought about at the time. Obviously, we've just moved on, and Derek's seeing that that should be me. It was such a sad story in there.
Yeah, he's told it, and it is
Yeah,
one. I mean, Derek is highly relatable anyway. He's the
yeah.
type of guy you talk to and you root for. Did you talk to him after Live Aid? Did you get a sense of how he felt, or did you not find out for years what that was like for him?
Not for a while, I don't think. I mean,
Mm.
that the whole period. I remember we went to Derek's wedding. Actually, I don't even know if that was after. That probably was after Live
Yeah,
Aid. And because I remember Steve and Kirsty were there, and they came back with me. So there was still a kind of friendship there
right.
between us. I don't know where it was with Jim. I don't know if Jim actually went to that
Well,
or no. 'Cause it was
he
really
did
Jim
say
that fired him.
Yeah, I heard. So, were you there when that happened?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so was Charlie. In fact, Derek was actually living with me at that time in my house, and we drove through to Edinburgh. So I didn't even know that that was about to happen. I mean, I'm sitting in the office and like I thought we knew he was up. He was trouble. He was only. I've put it on the naughty step, and I've been on the naughty step, you know. But I didn't realise how naughty his step was, that it was fucking pulling the rug away completely.
Hmm.
And Charlie was there. We were in the office, and Jim was phoning up for London, and it was like kind of firing him over the phone. You're like, what the fuck? It was really, really tough.
What was
Yeah.
the issue that finally ended it? Do you remember?
Well, I mean, there was a few wee things that were niggling. They didn't justify firing him. There's no way. He had a kind of a thing going with his girlfriend at the time that got in the press. It wasn't a good press. There was also wee things where he's always dead keen to get back up. I don't blame him getting back to Glasgow. We were in the studio. The bass and
Hmm.
drums are all done. You know what I mean? He's sitting there rolling skin up for us and doing joints and being funny guy, which is all very well and good. So it's a long, boring day. And I found the same thing with Mel and John Giblin when we were doing the Once Upon a Time album in America. The bass and drums, they've done the backing tracks. They don't need to hang about. But
Right.
we kind of held that against Eric because we were getting quite exhausted by the long studio hours, and then we kind of get back to Glasgow for the weekend. But then there used to be a shuttle flight from London Heathrow to Glasgow that ran every hour or something like that until about 10 o'clock at night. And you were always wanting to try and get home for the weekend, even though I wasn't that bothered about it, to be honest with you. But
Hmm.
otherwise, we wouldn't be working at the weekend. We'd be at a loose end in London. Then is it worthwhile getting up on Saturday and then come back on Sunday? But suddenly Derek's away up and he's caught the last. So we kind of built up this sort of stupid resentment about him taking the time and no putting the hours in. And when in fact there was no hours to put in was the reality of it because he'd done it all. So it wasn't. That's why at the time it was kind of gobsmacking stuff to drop him at the band. It was a major blow for the whole core of the band. I know Brian's departure kind of rocked it. When you look at bands like U2 or bands that have stuck it out, and I'll refer to that party that I went to. I can remember that party really well, not because of who these people were or the fancy house that it had or any of that. It was nothing to do with that. It stays in my memory. It was a bunch of these people and their girlfriends and pals that have ran through it for day one and stuck together. And it
Hmm.
felt like a family. It felt like they were all really, really connected to each other. And I knew we didn't have that then. I knew that they've got something we've no got, and it's bigger than music. It's bigger than all of this.
Now, when this decision is made and they drop this bomb, because I mean, in terms of it being a surprise for you, are you like, wait, I live with this guy? I mean,
Yeah,
what's it
it
going to
was
be like
because
tonight and tomorrow at the house? Or like, are you like, well, whatever, I got to get back to work. This is my paycheck. Like, what?
yeah.
You're
Well,
a
it wasn't.
human being, so you obviously process the human side of it.
He was
But
stuck because of something. He was moving house or something. He was only with me for a few days over
mhm.
that period of time. He'd have obviously we all came back together, went back to Glasgow together, and still it was just like silence, stunned silence. Yeah, what can you say? You can't say anything about that. And at the time, well, Charlie and I weren't strong enough to stand up as individuals within the band and say, look, we don't accept that. What we should have stood up and says, look, he needs either a dressing down, some sort of condition, or some sort of warning or something.
Mhm.
No, just out the band and let's replace him. That was just,
It's
I'm
hard.
embarrassed
It's
by it.
hard, isn't it? It's hard.
Yeah, yeah, I'm totally embarrassed by it still, and I'm an old man. And I know Brian and Derek and I, we've got this thing going at the moment, and there is a kind of bond there that's almost the same as it was when we first got together. It's almost like all that stuff, all the whole big chunk of life in the middle, and we're back to where we were, kind of in the same headspace as
Yeah.
we were way, way back then. And it's really
Well,
beautiful, actually.
it's good to hear because the three of you are hyper creative. I mean, Derek went on to do propaganda and he worked and he still, made an
Yeah,
impact and deserved far better probably than he got. But that wasn't your decision, Mick. It wasn't.
I know.
These things happen and
It
there's a
was it
machine at
was my
work.
it
Did
was
you
my
guys?
decision not to do anything. That's the
Well,
thing. You know, I mean, so you can't, I'm not going to shun off that we're young. And there's a whole load of excuses I can throw on the table that I can't really accept it. I've got to say that now I still imagine us because I'm 67, Derek's probably 69, he's hitting on 70. And we're all really old men, right? And I could just see us sitting in a wee care home. We're losing our minds, wondering who we used to be, you know, thinking, do you know who I used to
Well,
be?
let me stop you right there because Keith Richards and Mick Jagger are looking back at you talking about your age, going, "Oh, to be 67 again." To be
Yeah,
60,
that's true.
to shave off
Yeah.
15 years, we would be magical. If you would have told me, man, if you would have told me when we were kids that we would lose George Michael, David Bowie, Prince, and Tom Petty before we would lose Keith Richards, I tell you, you're full of shit.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
here
That's
we are.
absolutely
So
true. I
who
know.
knows, man? You could have another
I
15
know.
years of musical greatness ahead of you or more, you know?
You never know. You never
With
know.
modern science, who knows? But I think, I think these things that you go through, you do the best you can within the moment, and
Yeah,
there's
that's right.
circumstances without your that are outside your control, and you did an excellent job, Mick, of skating your favorite video question with the Derek chapter. But I'm going to come back to it. Like, do you look back at what is the great? What do people say when they meet you on the street? Like, let's go to that. Like, when people meet you and realize who you are,
What they say, I'm actually invisible right now. They say, "Excuse me."
they go, "Are
I'm
you the
either on my way.
grandfather of that really good-looking keyboard player from the '80s that everyone was in love
Yeah.
with?"
Yeah, no, I mean, there's very few. I went to a thing right about a week ago in Glasgow. It
Mm,
was to see Irvin Welsh, you know, the writer. He
yeah,
did Trainspotting, a famous movie, Trainspotting.
yeah, fun
And
movie.
because I put some things up on social media quite a lot and the release of my records, I did actually get recognised twice. One of the guys that recognised me was actually going to see Richard Jobson in the Skids in the Barrowland, which was next door. And I'd
Hmm.
walked past him in the street, and he must have followed me up to think he must have thought I may have been going to see the Skids. But he followed me up to the door of the Irvin Welsh thing. And my wife had seen him, said, "I think that guy is following you." And it was just really nice. It was really a nice thing. And it was really polite. And then another guy met me again. But I don't get recognised anywhere. And that's right in the middle of Glasgow.
That's
And
a good
even
thing.
so much so, you know, when you talk about the kind of handsome one, I think I was quite handsome back then in the videos and certain magazines. I think I had a look that was, you could almost take me into a Duran element or something where they were all handsome dudes.
They
But
were. They
now,
were good-looking guys.
yeah, they were good looking guys. And even when I was over in Spain there, I really feel that I'm totally invisible because I can walk down the road and sometimes, now obviously everybody's a wee bit older, but I would have thought I used to get an odd look from a girl here and there. They get absolute nothing. Even there was a team of women coming towards me, all kind of get laughing and giggling, and one of them accidentally tripped in my shoe and knocked my shoe off, and never even said I'm sorry. Just kind of put her own shoe on and carried on walking. And I'm thinking, I'm really invisible, and it feels good.
Yeah, it
It's
does
such a
feel
good
good, I'm
feeling.
sure. Although the lack of class escapes me, but yeah, I get what you're saying. But I'm gonna have to just for purposes of this discussion, I'm gonna have to put up some of Mick's video highlights under us so everyone can see exactly what we're talking about. Do you have a moment too, musically? What's your favorite song from your Simple Minds days? What's the one you think
um,
you're most proud of?
I think musically, I would say the later stuff. The early stuff's like it's all really one or two bars, loops, kind of stuff like that, which is fine and it's good. You need to keep it repetitive to get it working. But melodically and creatively, I would say the Street Fighting Years track,
Mm.
that actual track, Street Fighting Years, which I've renamed as Bound by Blood. I think musically that feels really good. As far as the band goes, I would say maybe Up in the Catwalk. I think for synthy sound, it was such a nice synthy thing with a nice spring in it, and it's got a nice piano change, a lovely
Yeah.
introduction. There's lots of elements to it that make it a structured arrangement that I feel quite, I like it. a lot of the stuff when I listened back, and I did review what things I'm going to tackle, and if I get loads of people, you need to try Easter, or you need to try, give me song titles to attempt to do. And I thought I'll have a listen back, and a lot of it I just didn't really get into. I've got to say.
What are some of
So
the
I
unique?
don't know.
What are some of the unique requests you're getting?
Well, something obvious one would be like somebody up there like she was obviously they're picking instrumental tracks, or and other ones that I thought I liked actually from early doors. I remember when we did Harass in New York the first time for the BBC, 1979. We did a track from the third album, I think. Oh no, it was the second album. It was Factory. It's called Factory, and it had a really nice. I always think of Kraftwerk and a oboe kind of sound. It had a really straight, piercing melody.
Mm-hmm.
I think we called it Faction on my album, and I always liked the idea of how something so straight and the melody itself has got the emotion in it. And I always felt the same with something like Kraftwerk when they play Neon Lights. Dee, 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 dee. I can hear emotion in that, even though it's a clocked up
Yeah.
machine that's playing it. There's no feeling it and there's no movement in it. And I felt like this track Factory was one that I've always loved. And even after I left the band and I heard the band Simple Minds do it again from a wee small gig in Glasgow, King Tut's, it was on the radio or something like that. I thought that's got the power. And a lot was to do with the bass. The bass is playing on a major third of the time, and I'm playing the melody up from that. And it always playing these thirds as it goes down. I really liked the musicality of that particular one.
Mm, some good stuff there. All right, so people can send title suggestions to you.
Yeah, you could
You're gonna
try
get things. You're gonna
it.
get things like Changeling, Speed Your Love to Me. They're gonna throw the whole kitchen sink at
Yeah,
you, but we'll see what
yeah,
sticks. We'll see what sticks.
yeah.
And I'm
And
glad
again,
you're at the
it depends on again if some of them work for the band, some of them just didn't work enough to pull it out to sit and play it. Of the one incident, just one more, when Charlie and I played Waterfront and an acoustic guitar and an accordion, sitting
mm,
outside a wee hall in a field in Glasgow. You
wow.
know, and it's almost like it was almost like a joke, but you can still hear the diamond that's in there. It
Yeah,
means that it doesn't. You don't need the big bombastic sound to draw the what's strong about the melody.
yeah, yeah. Incredible stuff, Mick. Very, very
Yeah.
fortunate that we've lived in a time with guys like you creating innovative music for all of us to enjoy. We're fortunate.
Oh, thanks for
And
that, Ethan.
it's the truth, man. And the fact that you're still out there doing it, I love this new record.
That's good.
I get these things a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. And I would say I'm enthusiastic that people are taking a crack at their art, but this is one that I was so surprised by and thought this is fantastic. Like this is
Oh wow.
something really special. And it's all the better that it's special because it's done by you, who we know to be a class act. So it's an even bigger bonus when it's somebody you're rooting for. So I'm excited to see what's next. We're gonna have to work up some surprises with you, buddy. I don't think we can end it here. There is too much magic in the Mick MacNeil machine. Uh, there's too much magic in our horizon. We have got to keep our foot on the gas with you. But I'm glad you're doing this, man. I love the record. And one thing I hate about these conversations is they're always too short. We could talk to you for 10 hours and probably never
Yeah,
stop
that's
laughing.
showing it.
And what are you out to do this weekend? Going out to the pub? Going to go out and you got a residency in a
Um,
local pub someplace?
no. What's this weekend happening this week? Oh, I'm actually going out with Derek tomorrow night for curry.
Good.
That's quite good. Ben's coming up from England, and hopefully Brian's over in Ireland at the moment at a
Mm.
relative's funeral. So I hope he makes it back.
Ah,
And we'll get a wee. See if we can make a plan to get the minds going. Maybe try and write some material. I want us to kind of write some new material and try and get something out there. I know Derek's a mad. He loves to play. He loves to get
yeah.
up on stage and perform. I want to give us
And he's good.
a chance at that. He is good. He's good at it. He's a great bass player. It's a good vibe. We've got a really good wee vibe going. Let's try and create something now, something that way that's now. That would be a
I,
good
rem-
project to move forward with.
I remember that's a great idea, and I hope you do it. I remember we were doing a charity gig with members of the Sex Pistols and the Cult at the Roosevelt
Aye.
Hotel, and Derek had told me something in an email on his resume that he was at one time voted Scotland's best bass player or something, something
Oh yeah, he
significant.
is. He is. He's
Which,
definitely.
yeah, which would make sense, right? I remember I said that
Yeah, totally.
and I
Aye.
and I was backstage with those artists, and I go, yeah, he was voted Scotland's best bass player, and some of those guys were nodding, like, yeah, I can see that. And somebody's voice from over here goes, hasn't he ever heard of Jack fucking Bruce?
That's right. I forgot
But
about him.
it's funny. I forgot about him too, and it's funny because it's like, God, there's always a critic in the room. There is always a critic. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter how good somebody is. There is always somebody who's like,
I
nah, it's
know.
shit,
But I
mate.
must. Jack Bruce. Jack Bruce couldn't do what Derek does, though. Derek's
Right?
got.
I
He's got
agree. I agree. It's
bass
just,
lines that Derek could play a bass line, and you know what song it is.
yeah.
There's very few bass players have got that.
Well, he talked to me in great detail. We should credit him for a bit, but about the intricacies of what he did on some of those songs, and it
Yeah,
was really unique. So we are not taking anything away from him. He deserves all the credit we can give him, and we're of course rooting for him. And Mick, you're in good company when you visit him, and
yeah.
it's
I'm looking
it's a
forward to seeing
it's
him again.
yeah, it's a reunion over Curry that I would very much like to be at because, brother, it's gonna be hilarious.
Yeah.
Mick, sit tight for
Good
me for
stuff.
one question. I just have one question for you off air when we wrap up, and I'm going to give the last word to you, buddy. What does the audience need to know?
What do they need to know? We need to know that Trump's an arsehole. And I'll apologise from everyone in Scotland from existing
Yeah, you
because
owe us one. You owe us one, buddy.
he came out of a wee Scottish woman, and I'm sure she was fine as well. She comes from a wee place called Tong in Lewis, and it's a lovely island. But I'm sorry, I'll apologise now for having him. But you're welcome to keep him.
Listen, man, your apology is accepted. But is there something? So we should say that you're on social media for music news, album news, and we can post it as well. But also, any possible gig news, anything that might come up. There's,
I've not got any plans at all, Ethan. This whole thing, this this is just flowing me a wee flow of. I think if some people want to buy this, that's really fine. We'll see how it develops. If I can take it on to a live performance, like I love what you came up with there, cathedrals, tour of cathedrals. That would be amazing. I would go straight to Cologne. It's a beautiful cathedral in Cologne. But no, I love that idea. But we'll see. I don't know.
Well, that means it's open to interpretation and all kinds of possibilities. So that's good news for everyone
Yeah,
because who knows where lightning will strike. I will
yeah.
say, Mick MacNeil is one of our all-time favorites. Not only our all-time favorite guests, and shame on me for not having him back sooner, but he's a big-time guy, and he's been big-timing us with big-time projects. We not only have a lot of love for who he is, we have a lot of love for what he's done. He is genuinely one of the best and one of the brightest the music industry has ever been lucky enough to include, and we have a lot of love for him. More news to follow. We're going to do a part 2 soon. Mick MacNeil, buddy, we love you.
Yeah, I love you too, Ethan. Good to see you again. Right, all the
Likewise,
best,
man.
man.
Same.
Take it
We'll
easy.
speak soon.
Bye.
I was nothing more than a school teacher of mathematics en route to the Americas when a storm overtook our ship and tipped my world on its axis. I was rescued, but by who?
You'll be allowed to stay on and work until we make the next port. We're not pilgrims. This is a warship. Can you fight or no?
I'm a teacher. What the hell am I doing here? The inside before dark and bolt your doors. Their presence means death. No quarter, kill all masters. Now available on Audible and everywhere dangerous books are sold.